Well, good day to you. My name is Bruce Chriswell. I was the second band director at Pryor Junior High School. I was the first band director at Meigs Junior High School, and I was the second band director at Choctawhatchee High School. I say all that to say that Jim Leonard was really important to me. He had been in Fort Walton about 13 years when I moved there. And we worked together as band directors for 6 years before he went into full-time at Playground Music Center. He was really important to me. He and I did just about everything together for a few years there. We went to band contests together. We went to festivals together. We went to the World's Fair and rode the train up there from Crestview to Washington and then to New York City. He and I played penny ante poker on that trip. I lost the only money I've ever lost, I guess, gambling to that man. I don't gamble much. I'd just like to say, Jim, I miss you. I do know that in heaven they talk about the choirs of angels and so forth. But I know that somewhere in all of heaven there's several hundred style marchers playing Fight on Big Green and Big Green Indian and some really, really cool John Philip Sousa march. Love you. Love all those people that are listening to this now. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Don Varner and this is Janie Varner, my wife, and we're honored to have the opportunity to say a few things about Jim Leonard, who has a great history with the Choctawhatchee Band in Okaloosa County.
We know you're there tonight celebrating the band banquet, and there have been probably a lot of people that have told you many wonderful things about Jim Leonard. One of the things I can recall in my past history of being a Choctawhatchee Style Marcher, and Mr. Leonard being my first band director, was back in the old days, in the 60s. Majorettes, of which I was a majorette, had to play instruments. So one day, Mr. Leonard had all the majorettes in second period band and trying to get us to pass off some music. Needless to say, that was not our priority. So when he went around to each one of us and said, play this melody, and he got to me, I was so nervous. I mean, you know, being that he was your band director and your teacher and always in honor of him, he said, it's your turn, Janie, you played that melody. Well, let me tell you, if there was a squeaking clarinet, I did it. When I got through with that really short melody, it probably was about maybe 8 notes at the most, because I played alto clarinet because it had the big black notes, right, Don? So I didn't have to, you know, play a lot of notes. When I got through, he put his baton down on that stand, looked at me and said with those stern eyes, if anyone ever asks you if you play clarinet in the band, just tell them you play at it. That was my first memory of Jim Leonard.
I was aware of Jim Leonard while I was at Tate High School as a student, because the Choctawhatchee High School band was in their same district, and so I had an opportunity to see them, and even my band director was in awe of the quality of the program over at Choctawhatchee High School. Little did I know that I would end up at Meigs Junior High School at that time to start my first 11 years as a band director before going to Choctawhatchee. So Jim has always, I've had a lot of respect for Jim, and he's always proven that with his past records and then how he assisted people after he retired, you know, with his music store.
Mr. Leonard taught us as students and then later as colleagues that the most important thing in education was the teacher, and he was a quality teacher. I really appreciate the opportunity and thank God that he gave me such a person in my life as Jim Leonard that could, you know, instill in me the love of education and the desire to be an educator myself.
Jim had such high standards with his music programs, and he expected nothing but the best, and he expected that out of the students, and they appreciated it and they responded to it. And so that's the type of standards that makes Choctawhatchee High School the great school that it is today, the great band program. is a continuation of those type high standards. So I'm really proud that I've had affiliation with him and his family, and I'll always remember what he's done to help us and what he's done to help the Fort Walton Beach community.
Jim Leonard came to Fort Walton Beach a young man with a vision, and to all of you young people here this evening, you represent that vision. You represent his dreams. Jim believes strongly in musicality, creativity, innovation, and entertainment. I am humbled every day and thankful every day for my association with Jim and all that he taught me as a person and as a musician and as a band director. Jim loved his family. He loved his Style Marchers. You did good, Jim. Thank you.
Hi, the purpose for tonight's little visit with you guys is to tell you a little bit about the first band director at Choctawhatchee High School, Jim Leonard. He was my mentor and a very dear friend of mine. He gave me my first job when I came to Okaloosa County, and he also gave me my last job, which was working for Playground Music and working with the community band. Jim, you guys are sitting in a wonderful banquet tonight, and it's all due to Jim Leonard and his work. He loved Choctawhatchee High School. He loves music, and he was just a very big part of the music in Okaloosa County all the way through until his death in December. So the reason you're having such a good time tonight, and I hope you are, but remember, he's the one that got this all started. And so he could do more with a musical phrase than most people can do with an entire piece of music. He was a genius. So enjoy your evening and think about him.
Hi, my name is Kelly Deklinski, and I am a former Associate Director of the Choctawhatchee Style Marchers, and I'm very saddened and honored to be able to speak about Jim Leonard. I met Jim early on in my time at Choctawhatchee, and he immediately became a very dear mentor. One thing that I noticed about Jim right away is he is a consummate teacher. Regardless of who you were and how young you were and your experience, Jim was just there and ready to help. After my first district MPA in March of many years ago, it seems now, Jim invited me to Playground Music to sit down and have a chat, and I thought, this is great. It'll be a great experience to talk, and I'm sure he'll tell me all the things I'm doing wrong with my conducting, and I sat down there, and he pulled out a scrap of paper that he had written all these notes on about the band and the music, and about 10 minutes or so into the conversation, we had stopped completely talking about anything having to do with music, and as Jim did many times, he liked to tell stories, and he told me stories about his students and connecting with his students later on in life, and how important that was for him. And I think I may have left Playground Music maybe 2 hours later, and I was in another world when I left, because when you talk to Jim for however long or for about whatever, when you left him, you felt like you knew more about the world, and you knew more about people, and getting along with people and impacting people, and being a good teacher, and being a part of their lives. And that's what Jim was. Jim didn't stop teaching when he left Choctawhatchee. He didn't stop teaching when he opened Playground Music and became a businessman, and he certainly hasn't stopped teaching since he's left us on this earth. And I'm very thankful for the time that I got to spend with him, and very honored to be able to speak about him today.
You can't listen to the band play. You can't watch them perform without seeing his thumbprint. As long as there are strains to be heard of Big Green Indian, or you see the headdress, Jim Leonard's spirit, his vision that he had so many years ago will endure. Jim, we miss you, and thank you so much for all of the gifts that you may not have understood at the time when you made the decisions. You have given so many people, your students, current students, and students to come, and a community that you left behind. We will always love you and remember you for being the original Big Green Indian.